Let's get things straight from the start. There are idiots in the world, and the unfortunate thing is that there are so many of them that it can be difficult to keep track of them all, and they just keep getting bigger every day. Idiots can be found in friends and family circles, in the governments of large nations, and a lot of other places, but probably the most common place to find idiots is at work. But why does it have to happen there? Why must they be so lousy employees that others have to clean up their mistakes? With that in mind, join us as we show you 10 individuals who had one job and failed tremendously. Number 10. Although we would want to start by exposing some complete fools at work and roasting them alive, I thought it would be preferable to start with a mistake that was really fixed by some people who weren't idiots. In this case, they weren't willing to watch things unfold. As you can see in the video, the driver of the truck made an abrupt turn while the truck's flap was open, causing hundreds of bottles of Korean vodka to fall into the middle of a busy street in South Korea. The vodka then started to spill everywhere. First, that is a waste of vodka. The irony is that, despite the truck driver's slow speed, the mess was quite extensive and beyond the driver's ability to clean up, even with their best efforts. This is where the people of South Korea come into play, as they acted without wasting any time at all. 18 people saw this act and hurried to clean it up. They used brooms and anything else they thought could help, and they succeeded in doing so. In fact, they were able to clear the entire mess in 30 minutes because of their promptness and willingness to assist. Now, if I may be blunt, there are many other countries that would not have offered assistance. Number 9. Have you ever seen those old-fashioned comedic sketches where two foolish people try to move a pane of glass across a street or into a space, and something always ends up happening to it? A car drives through it, something breaks, or something else entirely? Sadly, these kinds of situations do occur in real life, which begs the question of why people do the things that they do. This particular incident occurred in Vietnam, where two men were attempting to move a pane of glass into an elevator so that they could raise it to the desired level. Overall, not all that stupid. After all, attempting to do the work upstairs would put the glass at risk and require a lot of work, so why not just go for the simple route? To put it simply, the elevator's automatic sensor closed on the glass before it was even partially inside, since the glass is too large and cannot fit inside. It was also too lengthy, and they failed to detect this in time. This part is worthy of an old comedy segment. After the elevator ascends, the glass is subjected to extreme pressure, and then, bam, it suddenly becomes much smaller and fits inside the elevator now. Number 8. Getting new appliances for your home is a common experience that most families go through. Whether it's a broken refrigerator, an upgrade for your stove, or a new washer and dryer for your new place, these purchases are necessities. However, the problem with this is that most of the time you're depending on other people to deliver your new appliances, which can go horribly wrong. Take the example of the Jones family, who needed a new refrigerator for their house. You can probably guess how this failed so magnificently. As you can see from the Ring camera footage, everything appears to be going according to plan at first. The man is pushing the refrigerator up the driveway in preparation to take it inside, and while he did put it on the dolly, he neglected to secure it. This means that when he set it down, he applied a little too much power, and the fridge splat right onto the path, ruining everything. Even worse, there was a second delivery man there who was on his way to assist the first in securing the fridge. The first man didn't feel like waiting, and the results were visible to everyone. The second man even confronts the first one as he should. Fortunately, the situation doesn't end there. Instead of the expected apology from the company, they claimed that the two delivery men didn't even work for them, but rather for a delivery company that rents out their vans. Number 7. The last entry was problematic because the family had purchased a refrigerator and had anticipated that it would arrive on schedule and undamaged. However, for this one, we're going to step it up a notch because it literally involves the destruction of a yacht. Yachts, in case you didn't know, are really, really expensive, and as you can see, it's a nice looking yacht. It may not be the biggest around, but it certainly has style. Nevertheless, considering the size of the object, it makes sense that it is attached to a crane. It is being lowered slowly into the water, but then something goes horribly wrong very quickly. The boat plunges into the water so quickly that it lifts the crane off of its base, and the two fall into the water together, with the crane effectively impaling the yacht and causing everything to sink. There are now so many things wrong with the situation that it hurts. Firstly, the fact that the yacht was able to lift the crane off the ground shows that the proper safety precautions or equipment were not put in place to prevent this kind of thing from happening. Secondly, if you watch the video, You'll notice that many of the crew are just hanging around the boat or the crane carelessly until something goes wrong. One of them is even making jokes in front of the camera as things take a terrible turn. Even though we don't know the exact cost of the yacht, I'm very sure it's worth more than most of these men have, and if they had been sued for their behavior, they undoubtedly would have been held accountable. Number 6. Don't drive when fatigued. This may seem like simple advice, but you'd be surprised at how many people ignore it and end up doing stupid things like this man, who is operating a forklift and appears to have fallen asleep at the wheel. You can tell he's not paying attention to where he's going by the way his head is positioned while driving. As a result of his actions, he gently nudges one of the product shelves in the warehouse he is in. At first, this might not seem like a bad thing because a little push never hurts, but did you forget which video you are watching? The guy's prodding caused some of the product to fall off the shelves and collapse where he was sitting. To be honest, he was lucky to escape alive. However, the disruption of the product caused more shelves worth of items to collapse one after another. The stupidity in this situation is multifaceted. First, the man should not have been driving if he was dozing off, and second, he was a fool for believing he could handle the situation and carry on without any issues. However, there's a hint that he was mistaken. He was just a fool who was extremely fortunate to escape injury from the product he struck. I don't see any situation in which he was able to keep his job after this. After all, he had put himself and his co-workers in danger and lost a significant amount of merchandise. Number 5. Now, you might be thinking that I'm not going to discuss about another driver making a mistake, but this is not uncommon. Many people make similar mistakes and never realize how serious they are until it literally hits them in the face. In this instance, we are heading to British Columbia, Canada, where a medical emergency is occurring. Specifically, a man fell out of a raised bucket into a ditch and needed emergency medical attention. The local hospital's medevac was able to reach the road and land safely. However, once the man was loaded up, the helicopter attempted to take off again and clipped some nearby power lines. This is much worse than it sounds because helicopter blades must be precisely oriented and shaped in order for the craft to fly safely. The pilot felt severe vibrations from the craft after striking the power line and had to land right away. I'm not going to compare this guy to the forklift driver because of the location differences and the pilot's obvious lack of sleep, but it's still a serious screw-up. If the injured man had been in critical condition and there had been no ambulance, hitting those lines could have delayed procedures that could have saved his life. Then, what happened to the injured man? Well, there was an ambulance there, so they put him in that and went to the hospital. As for the helicopter, well, they had to stay overnight and install a whole new set of blades for the back rotor before it was safe to take off again. Number 4. When you hire an expert to assist you with a problem, you would want them to act in a professional manner, complete tasks quickly and neatly, and avoid creating new issues. This is the story of the landlord who hired a plumber to assist him in fixing a leaky sink in one of his rooms. This is a common occurrence that shouldn't raise any red flags, but the plumber chose to disregard plumbing 101 and attempted to fix the leak without shutting off the water to the sink. You can probably guess what happened next. He was the reason for the apartment's flood. Actually, it flooded portions of 2 apartments, ruining several objects and resulting in thousands of dollars worth of damage. It turned out that the landlord and the plumber would be held accountable for the mess since they refused to pay the cost to cut off the water so that the problem could be appropriately rectified. Even though the individual who videotaped the disaster wasn't a renter, they were able to determine that it was necessary to do so in order to hold people accountable. Number 3. Have you ever seen a container truck? These are the heavy-duty vehicles that move containers from one dock to another or to a business that needs them. They have unique clamps that secure the containers to prevent them from flying off during transit, which is a necessary safety precaution considering how much they can occasionally hold. However, if the clamps are left in place, the safety precaution could backfire. In this instance, a crane is attempting to remove a container from a truck, but the clamps have not yet been released. As a result, the truck was raised quite high above the ground, and when the locks holding it together finally gave way, the back of the truck crashed into the ground with a loud crash. Witnessing the truck driver become agitated was quite amusing, as he was attempting to rescue his vehicle even though it was his fault that the truck and the container were not separated. Even though the rear half of the truck failed rather than the front, the driver will make sure that this doesn't happen to his truck again while he is in charge. Nevertheless, it was still a terrible experience. Number 2. What could go wrong more than everything, as you're about to witness, when a fool thinks he's the greatest performer on earth and has a camera recording him? While at work, Yacht decides he's going to pull off a fantastic trick for the camera. He sets up a water bottle, walks a good distance away, and then stands right next to the camera, making it obvious that he's going to hit it with a dart. This isn't a bad trick, but he decides to go one step further and perform this mighty act without looking. What will happen next, I wonder, but I don't know because I know something terrible will happen, which makes me a psychic. First, he looks at his target as he throws the dart, but then he looks away and lobs it straight into his coworker's screen. The coworker's reaction is legendary, and it's only fair to say that the man should have been asked why he was throwing darts around his workplace rather than at the dartboard in the assumed break room. Secondly, it is absurd that you would put your coworker's life in danger by believing that you are incapable of throwing a dart accurately. Lastly, the man is so inexperienced with darts that he is unaware that he needs to be facing forward or looking at the target in order to make sure that nothing goes wrong. Because he was playing about the office while he should have been working and may have seriously hurt one of his own coworkers, I would consider this to be another crime that could result in termination from your organization. Number 1. Initially, there appears to be nothing wrong with the video. 3 men are attending to a ceiling issue, and they are all mostly performing their jobs. There is a man at the bottom of the ladder who makes sure it doesn't tip or move, and another man who is on the ladder as a backup to assist the man entering the ceiling if he needs assistance. Finally, the man at the top of the ladder is a little irresponsible because he is standing directly on top of the ladder, but he is fairly secure because there is a backup. But things take a terrible turn when the guy at the top decides that the only way to get to his destination is to stand on his coworker's shoulders. The man in the ceiling falls through the ceiling, which forces the man below him to break the ladder, and the man holding the ladder takes a step backwards due to everything that's going on. At first, their best option is to try I'll catch you tactic, but fortunately, they are able to use the still somewhat usable ladder to descend to safety. That's all for idiots and people who, even though they know what they're supposed to do, can't seem to follow instructions. Which of these idiots makes you think of someone you know? If you know of another video that depicts a failure that should have been on this list, let me know about it in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to check out our channel for more. As always, thanks for watching.